Yesterday's Nintendo Direct revealed Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, a game designed by Koei Tecmo with support from Nintendo themselves. Of course, the game will be set during the Imprisoning War, the ancient conflict between King Rauru's Kingdom of Hyrule and the Demon King Ganondorf, which occurred thousands of years before the events of Tears of the Kingdom. During that game, we saw glimpses of the Imprisoning War through Zelda's Dragon's Tears memories, cutscenes showing her journey after having time-travelled to the distant past. But these are just tiny glimpses at what was one of the most important, violent wars in Hyrule's history. The memories leave a lot unexplained, seemingly left up to the player's imagination. That might change this winter with the release of Age of Imprisonment, which might shed new light on some of the mysteries of the Imprisoning War. The first mystery is one I'm almost certain the game will answer: the names and identities of the ancient sages. I briefly mentioned this in my initial analysis for Age of Imprisonment, but this game will obviously heavily feature the Rito, Gerudo, Zora, and Goron heroes who met with King Rauru in the Forgotten Temple at the onset of the war, and were given secret stones by him to boost their magical abilities. Link meets the spirits of these ancient sages after completing Tears of the Kingdom's dungeons, where they pass the torch to their successor sages in the present. They're incredibly important characters, but we don't learn anything about them. The Gerudo sage has one line of dialogue about how Ganondorf's forces have taken the last free village in the Gerudo region, but that's about as far as the game goes in revealing anything about the stories of these warriors. We don't even learn their names. But there are clues. Each sage wears a mask shaped like an animal: a bird, a camel, an elephant, and a salamander. These match the animals upon which Breath of the Wild's divine beasts were based, Sheikah war engines which were apparently named after ancient sages. So it's possible that Age of Imprisonment could confirm the fan theory that these ancient sages were the ones whose names were given to the divine beasts. Another incredibly important bit of information missing in Tears of the Kingdom is the children of Rauru and Sonia. We never see their children during Tears of the Kingdom's memories, nor are they mentioned by any of the game's characters, but they must have had children, because Zelda is explicitly stated to be their blood descendant. And they must have existed during the Imprisoning War, since Sonia is absent for most of the conflict. So this is a mystery that Age of Imprisonment could absolutely clear up. They don't have to be an important part of the game or its story, merely shown or mentioned, and would further strengthen the link between Zelda and Hyrule's first king and queen. Tears of the Kingdom's Ganondorf is, of course, the king of the Gerudo tribe, a powerful race of warrior women hailing from the desert in the southwest. Before his ascension into the Demon King, we see him leading a group of Gerudo warriors, both when he attacks the Great Plateau with a horde of Moldugas, and when he falsely swears fealty to King Rauru in Hyrule Castle. During both of these scenes, Ganondorf is flanked by two Gerudo wearing gold masks. One's outfit is accented with blue cloth and a blue gem on her mask, and the other with red cloth and a red gem, and each has a sash over their shoulder marked with Hylian text. This can be translated to read Kotake and Koume, the names of Ganondorf's surrogate mothers in Ocarina of Time. These Gerudo witches are 400 years old by the events of that game, and are among Ganondorf's most powerful servants, able to fuse together to form the elemental witch, Twinrova. In Tears of the Kingdom, these characters seem to be little more than a neat reference. They aren't seen outside of these two cutscenes, and are never doing anything more than flanking Ganondorf. However, in Age of Imprisonment, I'd expect them to have a much more substantial role. Perhaps we'll see their magical powers in action, and maybe even their combined form as Twin Rover. Ganondorf's backstory and his history as King of the Gerudo is quite slight in Tears of the Kingdom, and it's definitely something I'd love to see expanded upon in this new game. The Great Sky Island serves as Tears of the Kingdom's tutorial area, a vast collection of floating islands surrounding the Zonai Temple of Time. The Great Sky Island is littered with the ruins of a lost civilization, broken houses, gardens, mines, now inhabited only by the autonomous constructs. Rauru's spirit reveals to Link that this place was once known as the Garden of Time, the site of his kingdom's rites and ceremonies. According to him, the garden was quiet, and the only sound that could be heard was the time bell, ringing in the mornings and evenings. Zelda's memories from the distant past reveal that, during this era, the Zonai Temple of Time stood on the Great Plateau, not far from Rauru's Hyrule Castle. Rauru's spirit confirms that, in his day, the Garden of Time was on the surface too, meaning that the area surrounding the Temple of Time during this era should resemble the Great Sky Island rather than the Great Plateau. However, we never really get a good look at it, and from what we do see during the memories, it doesn't seem to line up too well. Age of Imprisonment will surely show us Rauru's Kingdom of Hyrule in its full glory, the Great Plateau as it was when it was the Garden of Time. We can see hints of this during the game's reveal trailer, where Zelda, Rauru and Sonia walk between giant Zonai pillars, so hopefully the game will shed some light on the mysteries of this ancient kingdom, and how Hyrule's geography has changed since the distant past. The Depths is a subterranean dark world, connected to the surface through chasms that opened up after Ganondorf's resurrection in the present day. It's a nightmarish inversion of the surface world above, plagued with gloom and infested with monsters who never sleep. However, Tears of the Kingdom shows us that the Zonai once operated in the depths. Abandoned mines are found all throughout it, where ancient people harvested Zonite to power their technology. Curiously, the depths feature statues resembling Hyrule's races: Gorons, Rito, Zora, and Gerudo. These make sense. Each race had a close relationship with the Zonai, each had a temple built by them, and each eventually had one of their own gifted a secret stone and made a sage. But there's a fifth type of statue down here. This one. What's this meant to be? It doesn't resemble any of Hyrule's main races, nor does it resemble Rauru or Minoru. Clearly they're important. A trail of these statues leads to the central abandoned mine, directly beneath the Great Plateau. But what they're actually supposed to be is left a mystery, one that I really hope that Age of Imprisonment will explore further. Another subterranean mystery from the time of the Imprisoning War is the site of the final confrontation with Ganondorf, the place which would eventually become known as the Imprisoning Chamber. Tears of the Kingdom's lore book, Masterworks, reveals a fascinating detail about this place. In the distant past, it was known as the Temple of Light. Of course, ancient Hyrule featured a temple for every other element of the sages: wind, fire, water, lightning, spirit, and time, so it's only fitting that there once existed a Temple of Light too. The book makes some speculations on why this place was chosen as the site of the final battle, that perhaps it was sacred ground and gave the sages some advantage against the Demon King, but their reasoning and the details of the temple itself are still largely a mystery. Assuming Age of Imprisonment doesn't pull an Age of Calamity and instead follows the story of the Imprisoning War as we know it from Tears of the Kingdom's memories, then we'll surely see this place and the areas surrounding it in detail in the game, and finally get to explore ancient Hyrule's Temple of Light. This is one you probably expected to see on this list, the Ancient Hero. Once Link completes his final shrine, the statue of Rauru and Sonia will tell him to visit the Temple of Time for his reward. There, he'll find the Ancient Hero's Aspect, an item said to contain the spirit of a hero who once saved Hyrule, whose aura will envelop the wearer. Putting this item on transforms Link into this. Though the description claims that this is a hero who once saved Hyrule, he's not a Hylian. He's got green skin, flowing red hair, and feet that are more akin to paws. He wears Zonite armor like Rauru, Minoru, and the Hylians during the Imprisoning War, but he doesn't seem to be a Zonai himself. He's very different in appearance to the two Zonai we've seen, Rauru and Minoru. Even more strangely, this hero appears to have been the one to have saved Hyrule during the Ancient Calamity, 10,000 years before the events of Breath of the Wild. While wearing the aspect, characters will recognize Link as the Ancient Hero, and Impa even notes that he looks like the character depicted on the tapestry. This is a peculiar mystery for a number of reasons. If he really was the hero to save Hyrule 10,000 years ago, then that makes him far more recent than the Imprisoning War. Yet, the voice inside Rauru's Shrines of Light clearly knows of his existence, as this item is placed as a reward in the Great Sky Island Temple of Time, and the ancient hero himself wears clothes that are clearly from the era of the Zonai, rather than from the time of the Ancient Calamity. Then there's the mystery of what the ancient hero himself is actually supposed to be. Is he a Zonai? A Zonai-Hylian hybrid, or something else entirely? Tears of the Kingdom leaves this as a complete mystery. So even though this hero apparently fought in a different war to the Imprisoning War we'll see in Age of Imprisonment, I'd love to see some answers given to this mystery. As for what those answers look like, I have no idea, but it would be fascinating to learn anything else about this enigmatic hero. So there are 7 mysteries I'd like to see Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment explore. What do you think? What mysteries left by Tears of the Kingdom do you hope to get more information on in this upcoming game? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.